This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the faucet.
We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, hi, my name is Peter.
Yeah, I want.
Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on. He likes it. It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
Holy moly, down to the wire. Once again, another one of those when you think you got plenty of time days, and all of a sudden you're kicking back going, oh, I got plenty of time, and then it's looked at the wrong clock. But I digress. How the hell is everybody? It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. Wednesday, right here with Life of Peter G, the Peter G Show. Every Wednesday like clockwork, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. on the East Coast, depending which way you're facing. Right here, God willing. And we are here. And we got a great show for you tonight. Miss Amy Olmedo is going to be on the show, author. She's got a book, White Heron. I'd like to call it kind of a, I don't know how to call it. I don't want to call it a biography. But I mean, it's a story. And it's her story, basically. And but then again, I think a lot of times it's everybody's story because it's all about things going wrong. What do? Do you just lay down and give up, or do you find ways, however directions, paths, and fight the fight to maintain your own? And she's got that story right here. And we're going to talk to her tonight. It's a pretty good-sized book, but it's a good read. The print is adequately sized. I don't know if you can see that. You can't. Oh, there you go. The print is adequately sized. I say that because sometimes these old eyes have a hard time reading. But I had a woman, she gave me a book, and the book was like in micro print. And I had to go get the glasses and the magnifier. But this is good. This is a good read. Everything's proportioned really nicely. But again, it's all about the lesson. And we're sharing the lesson through her tonight for you. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes, okay? Also, while I'm going and I'm on a roll, next week, I want to say this now before I forget, finally, right here, I'm going to have veteran rock journalist, Steven Rosen on the show with this book that he's got of Eddie Van Halen called Tone Chasers. 26 years hanging out with Eddie Van Halen back in the early days. I mean, the beginning days, and through into his fame with the greatest, guitar player. And we're going to talk to him and talk about the stories and the early days and hanging out with him, one of the greatest guitar players of all time right here. Steven Rosen, veteran rock journalist. He's got this book on Eddie Van Halen called Tone Chasers, and it's a beautiful book. It's kind of three-dimensional. When you're touching it, you can feel different things. I mean, hardcover, and a lot of pictures, a lot of reads, a lot of stories. But going to be a great interview next week with Steven Rosen. If you're a guitar fan, a music fan, Van Halen fan, you'll probably want to check this out. So finally, because he was supposed to be back on the show back in April when we had issues, I got him now. He's going to be here. Talk to him this evening. Next week, July 2nd, right here on this show. All right? Cool. Sorry. I just blew myself out of the water a few minutes ago and not realizing what time it was. No. Does anybody say anything to me? No. Before we get started tonight, I want to reiterate on last week real quick, as I sometimes do. on shows prior. Because, again, I keep talking about how quickly the news is changing. And, we hang up the phone right now, or, the show goes off the air, and tomorrow, who knows? But I was really speaking from the heart last week, and I had to do it in the only way I know how to do it, and that's the truth on how I felt. And I realize everybody doesn't see this show. I realize that. Shocking, but I realize that. And so things happen. But, I was really talking about people flying off at the handle, getting too involved with today's media, talking to, and then flying the first thing they hear, and they just start spreading the gossip, like the sky is falling, Chicken Little, we're doomed. See, I told you so. And I, with loving care, didn't know any other way how to put it, but to try to tell a lot of people that don't realize what they're doing that they need to just slow it down and shut the fuck up. Simple. I mean, it's the only way I know how to put it. And I'm sure a lot of you that watch this show already know that. But this is for these other people. There's a lot of people that are just gaslighting, they're haters, and they just spew more hatred and fear. And lo and behold, the show was over last week. And what happens? Our president, which I refer to as the Orange Man, only because the haters love to call him that. I don't hate him. But I'll use that term so that way I don't keep dropping his name and it gets picked up in the algorithms and they start putting their thumb on me some more. He decided to end this problem with the nuclear threats of Iran, which I totally agree with. And every president for decades has said the same thing, but done nothing. And eventually there was going to come a point where we were going to regret it. And he finally put a stop to it. But right away. Didn't happen. And all of a sudden everybody's jumping to Facebook, jumping to him. We're at war. It's World War III. He's going to kill us all. And I just sat back and watched because, it is kind of alarming because that's a heavy move to make. But then again, he's the kind of guy to make that move. And lo and behold, everybody's freaking out. And I'm just sitting back and lo and behold, again, 24 hours later, 48 hours later, people are screaming and yelling, he's a friggin' idiot and this and that. And we're not at war. We're not at war. And again, today I had to pull this off the internet because there's this one person that I see who happens to be on my page, but I know he probably doesn't like me. I don't know why he stays on my page, but because he's a libtard to the max. And he wrote this, or he copied this. I don't think he wrote it. He's a copy and paste kind of guy, claims he knows everything. MAGA wants us terrified of the Iranian sleeper cells. The real danger is the Christian nation sleeper cells, ICE goons, and the J6 thugs Trump pardoned. And again, I'm not MAGA. I am common sense. I can't understand why anybody would not want to make America great again. It's a great slogan. But your so-called MAGA people aren't the ones spewing off this hatred, aren't the ones telling you we're going to have sleeper cells. I'll tell you what, all the MAGA people know that there's tons of bad people that were let into this country because the borders were wide open. They already know that stuff. So they're not out spewing all this fear and hatred that this typical guy was just doing. And this is where the problem is. You're the problem, not the MAGA people. The MAGA people are prepared. They know something may happen here or there. But the fear-mongering and the gaslighting, it's all coming from you. And you know who you are. All of you who think this way. And again, you can think all you want. But my point being is that, watch last week's show because maybe it'll help you to shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Nobody wants to hear it. You think you're doing something good, but all you're doing, you're the hate. You're the problem. And if you don't like it, take a hike. I'm trying to help you. Someday you're going to look in the mirror and figure it out. But until then, somebody needs to just be blunt and honest with you. And that's all I can be. But it bothered me looking at this crap because it's crap. It's just pure crap. Just shut the fuck up. Stop the hatred because Everybody that was screaming that we're in World War III and we're all going to war, 2 days later, there's a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Now, he's no Superman. He can't stop them from doing stupid stuff, and he blatantly got upset that they were doing a few stupid things. But he took the chance. He knocked that stuff out for your own good and for your children's own good, because the Iranian radicalists don't care about Americans. Plenty of great Iranian people, and this might be their opportunity for freedom. This might be the chance they're going to get to be normal again. But you guys are just raising hell, and I'm angry for you, because you're the ones, you're the problem. So just shut the fuck up. I mean, look, Dave Chappelle, freaking of all people, Dave Chappelle can tell you the same exact thing here.
Have a problem with that? You know what you should do? You should sanction me. Sanction me with your army. Oh, wait a minute. You don't have an army. I guess that means you need to shut the fuck up. That's what I do if I don't have no army. I would fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
I mean, he's got the same idea. Shut the fuck up, please. For the love of God. All you people that are just ready to lash out on Facebook or wherever you're at and just start telling you, see, I told you so, and nothing comes of it. Don't you feel stupid? I mean, I'm not calling you stupid because I think you've just fallen into the gullible department. But don't push your luck. All right? That's it. I love you guys. I do. I have hope and faith that you'll turn around. I turned around. I wouldn't say I was that like you, but I disbelieved a lot of things years ago. That's why I have hope. I have hope that maybe sometimes a little wake-up slap might help you realize that you're just running your mouth stupidly. Don't be that person. Just, if whatever's happening is happening, and I promise you that no matter what I do or what you do is not going to change it, but you're not helping the situation. If you love this country, shut the fuck up. And that's it. All right? Good. Thanks, kids. This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show, right? All right, so here's what's going to happen. What are we doing? Good question, Peter. We are going to take a minute to hear from my good friends over at Clean Star Products with their money-saving fuel additive DX1 driver, and then we're going to get into Amy's book, and we're going to talk to Amy, and we're going to hear her story. You got it? All right, be right back.
Hello, it's Tyrone Thompson here with Clean Star Products, and we're here with William.
High-end car service.
And we've just serviced his Cadillac Escalade 2024, and we're going to be giving it a go to see what kind of results he'll be getting in his fuel mileage and any performance differences, and be checking with him later.
All right.
Thank you, William, for participating in our environmental program. We're here with High-End Car Services, my friend William, who's been using DX1 for a small time now. What kind of results have you been getting?
Up to 45.1 miles per gallon best results, and the engine has been quieter, and I can definitely feel the power in the engine. I have a diesel.
Thank you so much. We're going to keep going with the program and check in with you later. We appreciate you.
The Long Life Engine program with DX1 Driver is the only safe environmental product for your high mileage engine. DX1 is a non-toxic, clean-burning oil that goes into your fuel and your engine oil, providing lubricity for gasoline and diesel engines. You save on average 10% gasoline and 15% diesel fuel consumption. Call now for a price quote and place your order today. It's the Long Life Engine program from Clean Star Products and Tyrone Thompson.
That's right, Clean Star Products. I got 2 words to tell you about what they have. It works. And it makes a great peace sign. I use the product myself. I would have never believed it. And I realize that it's not your average everyday thing you pick up at the store. But if you have cars and you know how expensive they are and you know how expensive fuel is, you'll try this product, because I'm telling you, I figured it out within the first 3 or 4 tanks of fuel that my big F-150 Super Crew that I love to drive, high mileage F-150 Super Crew, started running a lot better and was getting better gas mileage. My daughter even noticed it because she borrows the truck to go pick up hay for her horse when she's running out of food and it doesn't get delivered on time. It works. But don't believe me. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to call them, just like he said. He'll answer all your questions. Right there's the number right on the screen. Or you can go to www.cleanstarproducts, and the number's on the screen on their website. Call them directly. Chances are you might even talk to Ty Thompson himself. He'll answer all your questions. They have a good product that they believe in because they know it works. And should you decide after talking to them that you want to order the product, you mention that you saw it on the Peter G Show, and they will send you 5 bottles for the price of 4. I know, amazing, right? 5 bottles for the price of 4. A deal's a deal. And that's the perfect starter kit, because what you'll do is, out of those 5 bottles, when you're ready for a clean oil change, time for you to change your oil, pour one of those bottles into your oil change. Lasts the whole oil change. For some cars, it's 5,000 miles. For some cars, it's 10,000 miles. Depends whether you drive Mercedes, Chevy, Ford, whatever. You know the intervals. Then you'll be left with 4 bottles left. When you go to fill up your tank, pop one of those bottles right into the gas tank, fill it up with fuel, drive it till it's empty, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. You'll notice the difference. It'll make a believer out of you. Take care of your engine. I mean, cars are expensive. Why do you good food, good body? Same basic principle. Call them. Right there's the number, 310-200-8931. Talk to them. It's a great deal with a great product, and tell them you saw it on the Peter G Show, and they'll hook you up. All right? There you go. Okay. Hey, I forgot to also remind you guys, please subscribe. Please, please, please. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, share. Sharing's caring. Sharing really helps too. If you're on Facebook, the official Peter G Facebook page, please hit the follow button. All that stuff matters. It really does. Things are really picking up. You know, it only took 8 to 10 years, but things are picking up. And it really matters, okay? If you like what you see, even the haters, you know, I know they're watching. They can't stand me, but they can't stand not to watch me. But things are picking up. But you got to share, all right? Makes a difference, because there's a lot of people that aren't aware of what's going on that might need this information, like tonight's story. I'm sure everybody's got somebody that's going to need to hear Amy's story, all right? So please, 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 share, share, share. And don't forget the audio podcast, too. If you don't have time to watch the show, Google Peter G Show podcast audio, and the audio will come up. It's on like 26 different platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, all the above. Put an earbud in your ear while you're driving in the car, all the above, all right? You can take it on the road with you. I like when you watch, though. All the shows are on demand if you miss it live, but just do it. Okay, so as promised, first let's take a little sip here. Oh. Smooth. Okay. Catch our breath. Before I bring Amy in, I want to read a little something about Amy to introduce you to her, and then I'm going to have her introduce herself. Amy Olmedo is the head visionary and behind White Heron Retreat, a 10-acre woodland sanctuary in Delco, North Carolina, just outside Wilmington, North Carolina. After surviving a traumatic brain injury, PTSD, divorce, and a series of near-death experiences, Amy experienced a profound spiritual awakening that led to her reconnect with her inner creativity and sense of purpose. From that transformation came White Heron, a creation story. Her debut book that blends personal reflection, spiritual insight, and healing wisdom to guide others through life's darkest hours. Today, Amy welcomes visitors to White Heron Retreat to find peace, connection, clarity through nature, storytelling, soulful community. Her work is rooted in compassion, resilience, and deep belief in the magic that lives within us all. That's what you're getting tonight, all right? So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, live, first time on this show with her new book. White Heron, and I'm going to show you in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my new friend to the show. Miss Amy Olmedo. Hey.
Hi. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you for not leaving the show before your time to go on the show. I was telling you earlier yesterday and things like that this is a deep book. You know, I thought that this was a deep book. I couldn't really explain. I mean, everybody's got a story, but you took it and you decided to tell your story. Why don't you just take a second, and even though I just kind of read your passage from the book, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself in your own words on who you are, what you do, and what you're doing?
Ooh, that's kind of hard in a few words. So I'm a mom, first of all. I have 2 wonderful adult children. And I moved to North Carolina in 2020. Everybody knows what that entails. And I came here because I needed to finish healing. And living in, I'm from Maryland. I was living in Maryland, and just between work and stress and driving and people, I just wasn't able to finish healing. I've had 2 car accidents. I was hit by a car. I had a horrible divorce and a respiratory illness. And I knew that in order to live into my purpose, I was going to have to go somewhere where I could fully be me. And now I have created a retreat. It's a nature retreat. It has 2 different types of trails. I'm focusing on people who have gone through adversity, and also creatives that need to come out and find their best creative spirit to create the work that they were meant to make. And we also have a honeybee farm, and we'll be having an immersive training center where you can actually feel and smell and taste what it's like to be a bee, as well as take regular bee classes and do some additional research on just the amazing magic that bees give to us in our environment and our nature and everything.
I always said, you know, in growing up, be all you can be.
Yeah. You know, I always knew you could be the one.
Yeah. Me too. All right, sorry. Yeah, I just saw it and I went for it, and shame on me.
I know. You were feeling the bee.
I am. I you know, because sometimes it's just, you know, we're so serious on the show because it's important to me that, you know, I love to laugh. Laughing to me is #1 priority. But there's a lot of stuff going on in this world, and tragedy and life and people, just like what we're talking about today. And you know, I can't make jokes out of that, but if I see an honest little piece, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go for it. Here we go.
Honestly, laughter replaces so much of the pain that we have. I mean, like, it's actually been researched, and I've always laughed. That's how I know when I've sort of or tried to heal from my adversities. When I can laugh about it, I can make a joke. You know, I had traumatic brain injury. And when I went for my follow-up visit a year or so later, and they were going to scan my brain again, and everybody said, "Oh, what'd they find?" I'm like, "Oh my God, they found nothing." You know, I know. Brilliant deduction.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. How many years ago did this whole thing start?
Ooh,
you know, when you started, when all of a sudden things went awry, from what year, what point?
Well, I will tell you, in the end of the summer 2007, I was sitting at the pool. I was watching my children play, all of my friends, their children, their husbands coming in, you know, the quote unquote perfect life. And all of a sudden I just heard this like buzzing in my ears. And everyone's like, "Ooh," you know, and I thought, "Oh my God, what am I doing here?" I was like, I got to get out of here. And I thought, well, I just don't even know how to get out of here. I I had a great house. My children went to private schools. I had my own business. I seemingly had the quote unquote perfect life. And all I could think of is, if this is the perfect life, y'all can have it. I don't want it. I didn't sign up for this. And it was really life altering. And I was just sitting there by myself at the pool thinking, this isn't me. And I can't say that I was 100% miserable, because I really did a great job of putting on the smile and putting on the perfect face and the perfect family. And everybody was, so about 6 months later, when everybody found out I was getting a divorce, they were like, no, you can't have a divorce. We base our marriages off of you. Like, you're the happiest married person I know. And I was thinking, no, I'm actually the best faker, because I wasn't happy. I was so sad, and I didn't recognize that person in the mirror anymore.
What did you want?
Well, I can't ever say I've ever quite been normal. I'm not really sure what normal is. I don't know how to define normal. I mean, does anybody know how to define normal?
Yeah.
No, probably not. But I've always just been my own person. I've done my own thing. And I found myself with all these external social pressures. This is where you need to live. This is what you need to look like. This is the car you need to drive. This is where your children need to go to school. And says the social media, and says the politicians, and says, the stores and the commercials and the media. Everything you listen to all day, every day, ultimately controls your life, whether you know it or not. And that's what hegemony depends on. Hegemony is it's not a word that's used commonly, but people should look it up, because it is the controlling factors in your life that control you with your consent, which means you don't question it. You believe that control is real, and that you should just follow it because that's the thing to do.
Let me ask you this again. I'm just setting up for as we go forward. I want to get a base here.
Okay.
Do you mind if I ask you how old you are?
I'm 54.
Okay. Well, I mean, because you said you have 2 adult kids, and I'm 63, and I have barely an adult child, and I mean, everybody starts in different ways. You look a lot younger than me, and absolutely. And I'm just going, well, when did you start? When how old were you when you got married?
I had my children at 25 and 30.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
That's not 15 and 16, I mean,
No.
so that's so many people unfortunately do, and you just cut your whole life off, and they go, I never had time to live. I never had time to do this and do that. That's why I'm saying, okay, it's one thing if you're not happy in your marriage because something's not going on right, but I'm just trying to figure out whether you just weren't happy with just the whole thing that you're created, or you just weren't happy with a certain part of it. That's all I'm trying to get established.
No, I actually think I had, when I was a child, and a teenager and everything, I thought I had a pretty decent life. I mean, I always had a contentious relationship with my father, but my mother is absolutely amazing. And the one thing I can say about my father is that he thought my mom was the best person in the universe. And so I had to give him credit for that.
Okay.
And no, I went to college. I got a double major in 4 years. I had awesome friends. I still have friends from growing up, from elementary school through high school through college. When I met the man that I married, because we worked together, and philosophically we just matched. At least I thought that we matched. And so I really thought like, oh, look at me. I'm going to have the perfect marriage and the perfect children and the perfect job. And I wanted to be a doctor, and I did everything that I could do because I wanted to work with children. And my main goal was to help children be happy and be who they're meant to be in the world.
Fair enough. All right. So then let me ask you this. How would you describe yourself before everything started, you as a whole, as a person, before everything started going awry. I know I've kind of been asking about everything before, but this is the last question. I mean, as you, mentally, physically, spiritually, metabolically, any way you want to put it, your whole aura, how would you describe yourself that you were before everything just started going, south? I mean, as a person, who were you?
I was a scholar. I was an athlete. I did a lot of volunteer work. I pretty much slept 4 to 5 hours a night my entire life. And my goal was like, work hard, play hard. Because there's plenty of people who work hard, but then they're kind of missing like friends and social outlets and laughing and having a good time. And then there's people who play hard, but they never seem to get their job done or do whatever. So my goal was to do both. And even that, like I said, I had a double major in college. I graduated with honors. I worked full time. I volunteered, and I went out every night, and I loved to dance. And so a lot of my friends would go dancing with me, and we'd go to different clubs and everything. But then, bam, I'd wake up the next morning and go do it all again. So, and my heart was in everything. And that's what it was. Like, my heart was in getting good grades and working with kids and having friends and loving my life. And the sports part, like, even though I played sports, like I was the captain of all the basketball teams and I hiked all the time, 20, 30 miles a week. Like I could still like chill out and sit down and like, hey, like, let's cook some good food and have some good drinks and laugh and talk about life.
Okay. 2 more questions and then we'll start the story, or I'll let you start telling me your story. And I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but it all comes together. When you were at your worst, when you realized you were at your worst, who were you then?
Well, the car accident where I had traumatic brain injury and post-concussive syndrome, and basically my body stopped working. I couldn't read more than a sentence. I couldn't get through the grocery store. And the doctor told me, you're going to have to get used to this. This is your new baseline. And since you like bad words, all I could think in my head was to the doctor, like, this is my new baseline. I was like, fuck you. Like, I was like, how can I get better? What can I do? I mean, I was a Montessori school teacher when I was in high school and college. And I taught children all the different ways to learn. Everybody learns differently. Everybody doesn't sit down and read a book and take a test and get an A. Like, that's not the way life works. You learn through experience. So when I kept going into all these doctors, like, how do I get better? How do I get better? And they said, you don't. They said, this is your baseline. Get used to it. The faster you get used to it, the better life will be. But I couldn't get anywhere. I didn't even know my mom's phone number that she's had since 1962. And so for a little, like, it was confusing because I knew that I didn't know anything. And I was in so much physical, emotional, and spiritual pain. And I was getting a divorce, and I had to hide it from everybody because they were trying to take my children away from me. And I mean, that's a perfect opportunity. You have brain trauma. You can't do anything. You can't have a job. You can't have your children either. So I just, so there's a lot of characteristics that go with brain trauma. And one of them is like paranoia and anxiety and depression. And a lot of people with brain trauma, severe brain trauma, kill themselves. And I knew that. And my goal was to overcome it. And some days were good. And some days I just laid on the couch and prayed to God, like, please help me. Like, please, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And my little lifelines of hope were my 2 children, because I loved them and I know they needed their mom. And I had a couple of friends that I had been friends with for a long time, and they kept me going.
Okay. And now I'm going to jump to the here and now.
Okay.
Lastly, I mean, basically, how would you describe yourself today. How many years later is this now?
This is 16 years later.
How do you describe Amy now as a person from the beginning, before, then the traumatic middle of there's nothing there, to now?
I've learned how to slow down. I have learned how to express myself calmly and respectfully to all levels of people. It doesn't matter your age, your background, your nationality, your religion. I can have very genuine, in-depth conversations with people. And I have learned to let my gifts be apparent. I used to let a lot of my spiritual gifts, I used to hide them because people label you as like weird, or that's just freaky, or you're like, oh, why are you doing that kind of thing? And so now I'm comfortable with it. And which is why I have created a retreat for anybody who's gone through adversity to come out and learn how to heal through nature and through yourself, because I firmly believe that everybody has what they need inside of them to heal. And I don't define the adversity. You define your adversity.
Are you happy?
I am very happy.
We're going to talk about healing and all your gifts and things like that. But I just wanted to go, before we even got into it, just a real synopsis, where you were, what the hell you were when you were at your worst, and where are you now? And now let's go back to this. What made you, besides live your life, because everybody's going through stuff. I think everybody at one shape, way, or form thinks that whatever's going on in their life is the worst thing that's going on in their life because it's their life. You know, now, again, I have this saying, it's like, it could always be worse, you know?
Right. It can always be worse.
Yeah. You know, says the man, doesn't have shoes, says the man with no feet, that kind of a thing, you know? What made you not only succeed in saving yourself? And we're going to talk about, like I said, I want to talk about some of these stories if you're willing to go through some of these adversities with people. But what made you actually, I mean, sitting down and doing this is hard to do. I mean, to me it is, because I got like 10 books in me and just won't sit down to do them.
I'm telling you, sitting still is not like one of my assets. But so apparently I'm a little bit stubborn, and God kind of has to hit me over the head to make me do things. And so the first car accident very much solidified my divorce, which was devastating to me because I thought I was going to be married forever. The second car accident introduced me to shamanism, which is not a religion, it's a way of life. And unbeknownst to me, I was already living that sort of life, and I just needed to learn more and do the work. And the next major change is when I came down here, and every corridor I went down, the door was shut. And it had never been that way for me. I mean, even with all the adversity that I've gone through, even with all the accidents I've gone through, so many doors were always open for me. I get along really well with people, especially like super intelligent people, like, you know, that head corporations and stuff. I get them. They get me. So whenever, you know, I went knocking at the door, people opened it, and I came down here and every single door was closed. And I was like, are you trying to tell me something? I'm like, come on, man. Like, you know, give me something to go on. And I had found this, it was about a 2 mile, maybe a little bit more than a 2 mile path down to the river. It's called the Cape Fear, which I thought was rather ironic that I was hiking along the Cape Fear River. And I found fossils that were millions of years old. And all of a sudden, everything else left me. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about a job. I didn't care about going somewhere. I didn't care about doing. I didn't care about people. I cared about finding fossils. And when I was finding those fossils, I was actually finding that little girl inside of me. And I was mesmerized, and I fell in love with that little girl named Amy that created me and who I am on the inside. And I knew I had to write something. And so I had a ceremony on the at Fort Fisher, which is sort of like this peninsula that goes out into, so you're pretty much in the middle of the ocean. And in ceremony, my first LinkedIn post came to me. I went home, I wrote it. It wasn't perfect. So I went back to the beach, and there was this huge storm and clouds coming over me. And all I thought was, if I survive this storm, this is going to be amazing. Almost everybody else left the beach.
Okay. But wait a minute. Because great, finding fossils and writing the book, but that doesn't, in the meantime, what about paying the bills and keeping up and, and all that? How do you juggle all that?
I had some money from selling my house in Maryland, and I came down here. So I knew that, and I was working remotely. So I knew I had a little bit of time and a little bit of money.
Okay.
So no, it was definitely not easy. I was, I was spending the least amount of money that I could, which is why hiking was really cool. It's free. Yeah. And the first post I put on LinkedIn, I had over 10,000 views, and my fingers got numb, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do now? And then I found.
How many years ago was this?
This was 3 years ago.
I think that's about the time you started hounding me.
I sent you like hello.
You were very bubbly, and you were very, you were always on, and because I remember that when we linked LinkedIn or connected, so to speak, I noticed you were on a lot. You started posting, and you did start posting a good bit, and it was all up tempo and very forward and positive and all that. I didn't know much about you. I take things with a grain of salt. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention, but you were there. So that's when you started writing the book?
Pretty soon after that. So I was making a post every Monday, and I was getting anywhere from like 5 to 10,000 views, and people liked it. And I was like, hey, wow, I'm really good at this. And I made real connections with people. I made sure I looked at their profile. I knew who they were. I didn't connect with people that I just didn't care for. I couldn't connect with in any way, emotionally. And I had such a great community. And I did that every Monday for a year. And within that year is when I started making an outline, because my life is so convoluted in so many different ways. I've done so many different things. So I made an outline, and it was 10 chapters, 10 sub-chapters. And then I named every sub-chapter, and I made every sub-chapter a little tiny story. And then I connected my stories.
All right. Let's talk about your story.
Okay.
What made you start from where you started from in the book? I mean, that's not really like the beginning.
Well, my goal my whole life was to grow up, get married, have 3 wonderful children, and be a doctor. So I thought I would start where everybody wants to start. You start with the love story. And that's where I started, where I had met my husband, the man I was going to marry. And it felt like a fairy tale. Everything seemed perfect and wonderful and happy. And I had great pregnancies. I had great children. The man that I was married to was also going to be a doctor. So we understood each other, and we could work together. And and he admired my work and I admired his work, and it was really nice. But and he's a little older than me. He's actually the same age as my sisters. So I got along really well because when I was a little kid, I had to hang out with my sisters all the time. And and like music, you're all into the music memories and the social memories. Mine matched his because of who I was around as a child, and everything just seemed really nice. But as time goes by and you grow and you mature, you have more and more responsibility. You have children, you have houses, you have bills, you have dissertations, you have all of these things. And I was carrying the burden. And I was carrying his burden and my burden and the children. And then we had, probably 10 people that we were either related to or very close to pass away, including our dog, within 3 years. And I never saw him again. I mean, I went from being in love and thinking I had the most amazing husband in the world to living with a complete stranger.
Why do you think that is?
He just couldn't deal with change. He couldn't deal with the layers of responsibility. He couldn't take criticism, any kind. He had a fear of failure and a fear of success, all rolled into one big ball of anxiety.
Because look, in general, marriage is no bowl of cherries. It's a lot of give. In the beginning, everything is wonderful. It's like dating, but to be long term, which I truly envy people who are married long term, because there's a lot of bumps in the road, and either you give and take and learn from it and realize and remember why you got married, or a lot of people just pull the plug. I mean, it's just that simple. And then you got kids involved, and the kids are split up. So it's detrimental. I mean, it's all detrimental. When you got into that accident, you were still married, right?
I was in the process of a divorce.
Okay. Did you have support when you were in the hospitals? And I mean, how old were your kids during your first accident? Automobile?
6 and 11.
That's hard.
It was hard because I volunteered at their school. I coached their sports teams. Like on days off, I'd go pick up all their friends and we'd go hiking in the woods, and I'd have a backpack full of sandwiches and drinks. And I went from that to like, gosh, I hope I can get out of the bed and get them to school and figure out where I'm going, because I didn't know. And that car accident was the day I stopped loving my husband.
How do you attribute? How do you put that in correlation?
Well, because during the process of our divorce, I thought that we could remain friends. I thought we could live near each other. When he had emotional problems, I was there by his side because I didn't hate him. We just didn't match. We're not the same. We're not the same. And when I got into that car accident,
he wasn't there.
He wasn't there. He went to a festival. He made fun of me, and his lawyers slammed me with all kinds of stuff and private investigators and evil things. And in my heart, I was like, this is it. I'm done. I do not love him anymore.
How long were you late? I mean, what type? Can you describe the intensity of the first automobile accident? Because you had several. You know what I mean? So I want to know where the PTSD came from and all that kind of stuff, and when it came. But just so we can tell everybody.
Yeah. So the first car accident is when I had traumatic brain injury and post-concussive syndrome. And I had a very difficult time walking. Couldn't walk straight. I fell down steps. I fell off curbs. I had no memory. I had to teach myself how to read again. So I started with one sentence, and then I would repeat it 3 times, and then I'd move up to 3 sentences and repeat it 3 times, and then a paragraph, and then a page. And I was so excited when I got through my first book because it took a really long time. And I found this trail that they blocked off on weekends that had a yellow line down the road. And I would go to that yellow line and I would close my eyes and try to walk straight, because I always walked way far to the left. Because at the time that I had this brain injury, there was very little research and evidence on it. There was a little bit for athletes, boxers and football players, and there was a little bit for military people. But anybody who brought it up was like shunned from the medical community. There was a doctor that I think had been near a bomb explosion in Afghanistan, and he was a surgeon, and he performed his surgeries perfectly, as he always did. But when the surgery was over, he couldn't write his notes, and he had no recollection of the surgery. And he was terrified to tell anybody because he was going to lose his job. And he wasn't even near the bomb. Like, it was the sound waves of the bomb that jarred his head. So when you have the brain injury, the way the doctor described it to me is, it's like you take a Jell-O mold, you know, those things your mom used to make for dessert when you're a little. He goes, you take that Jell-O mold and you shake it up. And he said, does the Jell-O ever go back the way it is? And I'm like, no. And he goes, and that's your brain. And I'm like, well, I just don't like that. But I worked really hard. I worked every day. And a year and a half later, I got an incredible job. And I had to just prove to myself I could do it. My boss was aware of my injuries, and she was absolutely brilliant. I adore her. We ended up working together for 7 years. And I worked for a program that I actually ran 3 programs that was in one grant, and we significantly improved birth outcomes through the state of Maryland. And I learned things I had never learned before and executed them with all my might.
But so after the injury, how long would you say before Amy felt like Amy was back up to speed? Sense of normalcy.
I would say about 2 years
And
of working daily.
How long was it between your first accident and your second accident?
5 years.
And how bad, which accident was worse, the first or the second? Car accidents, right?
Yeah. The second car accident emotionally was worse for me, because I thought that my first accident was a punishment from God because I had left my marriage. And yeah. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna reconcile all of these things, and I'm gonna go be try to be a great mom. I'm gonna try to be a great employee. I'm gonna try to be a great person. I had a boyfriend. Like, I was trying to do all the things I thought I was supposed to do. So when the second one happened, it shut down all of my organs. My body physically knocked over a telephone pole. And the only reason I didn't die was because the telephone pole fell about 3 feet outside the car instead of on me. And those few seconds between me grabbing on, going, oh my God, we're going to hit the telephone pole, because we skidded like that and the pole was over here. I had this whole conversation with God, like, why did you keep me alive 5 extra years? Why did you put me through all this pain and misery? Why did you do this to take me now? And we hit the pole, and I was still alive, and I was in more pain than I had my son with no medication whatsoever. That car accident far exceeded the pain of childbirth. And I was angry, and I thought, how dare you give me another car accident, debilitate my entire body, and keep me alive? I'm like, is life supposed to be torture? I didn't want to take the same path to healing, because the first path, all the doctors and lawyers just took my money and they didn't heal my body. So the second time, I'm like, I'm taking a holistic path, and I'm going to learn how to heal my body myself with other holistic healers.
Well, okay. But how badly were you injured the second time around?
The second time, my entire torso was bright green and purple. All of my organs were out of place. I had fractured neck, a fractured spine, broken ribs. From the outside, you couldn't tell. But my arm shook for about 6 months. I couldn't stop my arm from shaking, and I couldn't move my fingers on this hand. Like this hand did this, and this hand did this weird thing like that. So to an onlooker, I still kind of looked normal. But a hiccup, a sneeze, anything was excruciating pain.
Right. All right. This to me, and I'm going a little bit backwards again, because, you know, when I started this show, I don't know if you're familiar or not, it all was started from my divorce, because when you have young children, they get caught up in the middle and their heads get twisted from the he said, she said, or the separation, splitting them in half and all this kind of stuff. Through all this diversity and all these things that have gone on, because now by the time your second accident happens, your kids are like young teenagers now, I would imagine.
Yeah, so like 11 and 16.
Okay, there you go. So
yeah.
Between those accidents, the divorce and all that, how did your kids fare? Because to me, that's like the most important thing, because they're your children and nobody wants to see their children go through, you know, live carrying, you know, that kind of shit.
Yeah. Well, my daughter was entering middle school at the time of the divorce. Well, I think she was in her second year of middle school, and it was very devastating to her. You know, she went to a new school, and the private school she went to was loaded with money. So it was materialism everywhere. And, you know, my business was devastated. At the time of my divorce, my business was worth $3.5 million. I came out with $17,500. That doesn't pay for a private school education. I had a job, and my job allowed me to have a house and a car and, you know, all normal things. But when you're contending against that type of materialism, she felt less than. And when you feel less than as a teenager, that's really hard. And a lot of the girls she was in school with were a year or two older than her, because the private school system does weird things with the grades to try to get better sports teams and stuff like that. And I thought that my son handled it a little bit better. He was sort of the peacemaker. You know, he would advocate for dad. He would advocate for mom. He would advocate for sister. But now that he's grown and out on his own, I think he's having a little bit more difficulty dealing with it, whereas my daughter had most of the difficulty in her teenage years.
Do you guys ever talk about it, or you just kind of just let it flow?
Well, my daughter's 29 now, and we talk about it, and we have really great conversations about it. We talk about not repeating patterns, and bad things happen, and there's a recovery period, and you move on. One of the main things I told both my kids was, go away from here. And I would have told them this whether there was adversity or divorce or anything or not. Leave where you are, experience life, experience a different way of life. Wherever you live creates an impression in your mind, and every little kid thinks the rest of the world matches their world, and it doesn't. And my message was to them was, go travel, go to school, learn things, eat the food, go on hikes, learn the culture, ask questions. And unfortunately or fortunately, they followed directions because they live really far away. But I thank God for FaceTime all the time because it keeps my babies in touch with me.
Because there was a saying or a little story about a guy that grew up, two brothers that grew up, and the two brothers had an alcoholic father, and the one kid grew up successful. Have you heard this story?
No.
The one kid grew up successful, and the other brother was like he was just losing in life. He became an alcoholic, and he was failing and just complete. And when they asked the successful one, how was it that you became successful? The kid, or the guy, kid says now, well, my father was an alcoholic when I was younger, and I didn't want to, and my father was an alcoholic, and I chose to not do that. And when they asked the other brother, why he was like that, he says, well, my father was an alcoholic. And do you see the difference? It's like life's full of choices. You can either use it as an example to better yourself and say, I don't want that. Now, again, marriage is tough. Everybody goes in thinking that this is the one. I don't think anybody intentionally says, man, I can't wait to get married so we can have a knockdown, drag out divorce, spend all our money, ruin our whole relationships with our family and friends, and burn everything to the ground. I don't think anybody does that.
Probably not.
So that's why I'm just asking, because I'm so, to this day, I may not do those type of shows all the time as much as I used to, but it's very important to me because they're your kids. They're our future. And I don't think any parent in their right mind consciously, well, there's a few, but not many, that try to ruin their kids. That just mentally beat down their kids. And my child is everything to me. And I've been very blessed that so far so good. Despite the problems, I had one of those burn everything to the ground divorces, unfortunately, and she survived it. But they carry stuff, she's admitting little things that you just don't think they know, but they know everything. And anyway,
it's amazing what they know and what they don't remember.
Right. That you remember, that they might remember, you don't remember, or vice versa.
Yeah. And it's really interesting to me, the things that they remember and the things that they don't remember. And I catch myself going back like, okay, where was I? What was I doing? How did I interpret the situation? I'm not really sure. I was married for 15 years, and I would say the first half I thought was great. And the second half was just a continuous decline. And when I was going to leave, I had made my plans to leave. I took each one of my children for a hike by themselves. So I'm talking to a 6-year-old, and I said, hey, guess what? Mommy and Daddy are going to have 2 happy houses instead of 1 sad house. And that's pretty much the way I explained it. And my 6-year-old said, oh, good. And I was like, I'm thinking good. Like, oh, I'm like, okay, honey, like, what does that mean? And he said, well, good, because then Daddy won't be mean to you every day and you won't cry every night. And it broke my heart because I didn't know that they knew I cried in my bed at nighttime. They thought I went to bed to read. And then when I took my daughter out, I gave her the same spiel, 2 happy houses instead of 1 sad house. And she said, well, good. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, Mommy, I know when you go to bed and you say you're reading, I know you're really crying in there. And she said, but what you don't know is that I'm in my room and I'm crying too.
Yeah. See, again, they get all caught up in it. They're like sponges, and they pick up on everything. And, and it's not, and regardless, does your ex communicate with the kids?
I believe so. I don't really know. Okay. They have learned to keep us separated. They
I
don't
get it.
really tell us. I mean, I guess the major things they might say something, but not really.
Believe me, I understand, and I envy those even that are divorced that are still friends. There's a lot of relationships that they're still friends, and they don't, they're not married anymore, but they can at least cordially talk to each other, even though the kids are grown. I mean, they can still, there was a time when you would die for each other, and then you want to kill each other. I mean, it just sucks.
Yeah, it
Okay.
all ends in the same way. Yeah, I actually have several friends that have, I guess you can call it a great divorce. I have three friends
Not many.
that are really good friends with their
Yeah.
ex-husbands, and I'm friends with them as well as their ex-husbands, but they're my primary friend. But we have holidays together and birthdays and go on, little day trips and stuff. And it works out really well for their children.
Yeah, it's great for the kids. I mean, anyway, again, water under the bridge. I'm living that. I've been divorced since 2012, and we still don't talk. And it's, I don't think it's ever going to be. And my daughter's okay with it. She gets it. She understands. But to me, it's just plain stupid. I mean, it just sucks. What happens when your child gets married? To get at least a picture with their parents or something. And I don't know. Maybe it bothers me more than it bothers her nowadays. But it just bothers me because it's so senseless. But I want to move forward because now time is flying. Let's get to, you've gone through all this hell. Is there anything more in the tragedy department at your lowest of lows that you want to, express to everybody before you finally figured out how to pick yourself up?
No, really, it was just dealing with it every day and learning how the major thing is don't take all those crazy medications that they want to give you, because for pain and anxiety or depression or brain trauma or the respiratory illness that I have, every single medication that I took made me feel worse. There are natural remedies, plant medicine, and those are the kind of things that will help you heal. They'll help you find the origin of your trauma and your pain and your suffering and all those other crappy. There might be some good medications out there. There might be some. I guess there are a couple. They will make you worse. And so you can take them in the beginning to give you a little jump start, but take it for a very limited amount of time and get yourself off of them and get yourself healthy the right way.
Yeah, but Amy, look, we've grown up in society to trust our doctors, and I think our doctors have become more pharmacists than doctors. They don't really have the time to do the work. They did the pharmaceutical rep comes in, he goes, hey, we got this new product, you give it to them for doing this, and this. And they just kind of do because they said it works for this, and this. Here, try it. You like it. And nobody goes to the root anymore and tries to fix the problem. It's getting covered up. And again, back when everybody was getting the jabs, whether you believe in the jab or not, I got a very close friend that I love to death. He believes. He goes, well, don't you trust your doctor? I said, I'm not saying he's a liar, but I don't trust them anymore. I question everything because they're only hearing it from somebody else who told them it's okay. And so I don't believe it's okay. And they're waiting for the next booster, and I'm going, God bless you. I love you. But, I'm not going there. My choice.
I worked for a major medical center for 15 years. And there are good doctors out there. There are excellent doctors out there. But the lawyers and the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies control the doctors. Anybody who wants to be a healer is not allowed to heal people properly because of all the rules and regulations. The older doctors, they know what is the right thing, but they're not allowed to do it. And the younger doctors are being programmed by the money. That's sad. It's disgusting.
My parents' physician, before my parents passed away, after they passed away, he retired, and he wasn't an old guy. And he opened up a brewery with his son because it's just such a pain in the ass to be a doctor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All those years going to school, all that money, you become a doctor, but the insurances and the programs and the what they put on you 10 minutes with a patient. That's what you should get, and then on to the next. And he said, screw it, I'm out.
I worked with doctors from their first year through their fourth year, and I watched the change. I watched human beings come in, and I watched them leave medical doctors the way the medical system wanted them to be.
Well, if you hang around, if you hang around a certain crowd long enough, you start becoming part of that crowd. Unintentionally or intentionally, whatever. You just start. If I went to Greece tomorrow and stayed for 4 months, I start speaking Greek. By default, you start picking up the language.
Right.
And so it's just kind of the way it is. And again, I think there's a lot of people with good intentions, and then business gets in the way, and it's all business nowadays, and it really sucks. But we're gonna move on some more.
Okay.
When did you finally, when you saw the light? Tell everybody about this spiritual change and you feeling the way you felt in the past, or what you think your gifts are and what you're doing, what you started doing to change everything.
So after my second car accident, like I said, I wanted to take a more holistic path, and I worked with a manual physical therapist, and he was excellent. He put all of my organs back in place, and I went to him every Wednesday, and the only day out of the entire week I went to the bathroom was on Thursday. So I was literally filled with poison. And after a year of working with me, he said, Amy, I've done everything I can do. I've put you back in place, but you're still not working. And he explained that the physical and the emotional and the spiritual are intertwined. So he referred me to one of his constituents, which she did acupuncture. And after working with her, everything started to open up. Everything started to change. And I ended up going to Peru with her with 10 other people. And we worked with the shaman for 3 weeks. And unbeknownst to me, my old self was dying off and my new self was coming alive, but I didn't know it. And I came back and I was frustrated because I'm like, but I'm not healed. I still don't work. And 3 months later, he came up to Maryland instead of us going to Peru. And we had a ceremony. And in that ceremony, I meditated for quite some time. And I went back. I went through all of the people who had caused me fear and pain because I needed to get rid of my PTSD. It was freaking me out and my body didn't work. And I went through all the people who did that. And I got all the way back to my grandmother. And I said, "It's you?" And she said, "Yeah." She said, "Don't be afraid anymore." And I was like, wow, it was so real. And she passed when I was 6. And I was very close with her. And when I went up for my own personal healing, the shaman spoke to me. We kind of spoke telepathically, and he spoke in Quechua and I spoke in English. So I don't exactly know what we were saying, but we understood each other. And he leaned forward in my ear and he said, "Tell me about your grandmother." And I told him what he said. And then he put, at the time, I didn't know what it was, but now I know that he was just helping move energy in my body. And he put his hand on my stomach and he said, "Let go." And at that time I let go, and I still was unaware, like, am I healed? Am I not healed? And a few months later, about a month later, I saw an accident. I had no PTSD. I had no anxiety. I just kind of looked over. I was like, wow, that sucks. And normally that would have set me off for days. And I was so excited. And so from then on out, I was doing so much work, and I ended up working with him for 7 years. He pretty much validated everything that I had thought, all those weird little things, all those weird intuitions or those shadows or those whispers or those feelings that you get when you think something's wrong or right or you can help heal. He taught me how to see it and feel it and experience it and how to help other people heal. And that is what I do now.
there's a lot of people that are going to be watching this right now. I'm sure
Mhm.
you're aware, and they're going to go, "What the hell is she talking about?"
I wish I had a English word for it. I don't
I
have
mean,
a English
I
word.
I get it, but let's face it. I don't think many people can go so deep within themselves to feel these things that you're talking about. You know, putting in the work, and you know, and a lot of people are going to say this is bullshit. This is you must be doing mushrooms or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's
And
fun.
okay, let me ask you that, because I know some of these people that go to these retreats and all that kind of stuff with these shaman, and they're all doing some form of shrooms, and they're and he's basically the sheep herder, making sure they don't trip and try to fly off a cliff or something like that. Is that what you guys were doing too?
No, he was actually, so in Peru, when you get to about the age of 13, like in all the other religions, you send somebody into Catholicism and you send somebody into shamanism. And it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl down there, it's your calling. So one member of his family went into the Catholic Church and served the Catholic Church, and he was chosen to go into shamanic training. And his grandmother was also a shaman, and she would come to ceremony with him and help him so he could call in the spirits for whoever he needed. And honestly, if anybody would have told me this before I experienced it myself, I would have just thought that they were like having really cute little like Fruit Loop stories. However, I never felt more sane until after I went through these things, because it validated so many parts of my life that I kept secret, that I didn't want to tell anybody, that I knew was true, but to tell somebody else would make you weird or strange or freaky. And so for many years, I kept it to myself. And about 2 years ago is when I was like, you know what, I'm going to share this with the world. I'd shared it with a few people. I had helped a few people heal, but I wasn't ready to put it out to everybody else because I didn't want to be labeled that way. I just want to be Amy. But what I've come to realize is that I am a healer, and I can help people heal. And like I said, I wish I had an English word for it. I don't. From what I understand, my method of helping people heal, there's a Chinese word for it, a Japanese word for it, from one of the provinces in India. And I believe that Native Americans also do the same thing. And I wish that I knew what those words were, but I'm trying to do more research because it's very distinctive.
But I think more than anything in general in life, and this goes for a lot of things, but self-awareness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very important. Knowing what you suck at, knowing what you're good at, knowing what's right, knowing what's wrong, knowing what you're doing, knowing what you're not doing. And if you do have certain qualities, I mean, I don't think everybody's got this, or if they do have it, it's not nearly as predominant as for some people that it's just like blatantly in their faces and they go, okay, because I bring on psychic mediums. I don't know if you believe in that kind of stuff, but I have them on my show. Well, again, there's certain times where if somebody's looking at you and tells you something that in your heart of hearts that nobody could ever know, how are you supposed to deny that?
Right. And that's every person that I have ever worked on, what I feel with my hands and what I see in my mind. So sometimes I see things, sometimes I hear things, and sometimes it's just like an impression that I have. I've never been wrong. And there's like this little bit of excitement inside of me, like, yes, I'm right. I got it again. But my excitement very quickly turns to being humble, because when I say my observations, it brings people to tears, and they're not sad tears. They're not happy tears. They're like hot tears of relief. Like when my soul is looking at their soul and we have an understanding. It's not my human part looking at their human part. It's our essence. It's what creates all of us as being one. And I do believe in, like a universal oneness.
Well, there you go. I mean, the same thing. When I said about psychic mediums, you kind of went like this. It's like basically same thing, only different. I mean, again, I believe that there's plenty of wackos out there that aren't very good, but I've gone through enough of them to where you kind of know when you know.
Yeah.
It's that kind of simple. And I know a lot of people that have way big disbeliefs in it, and everybody's entitled to their own thing. Same thing. You're gonna get some people that are gonna say, "Oh, I don't believe in that crap," and you're gonna get people that are gonna love you to death and come back to you and spend all the time because they know that's for them. So now that you're doing this, how long now would you say you've been in full swing of what you're doing and out? I don't want to say coming out of the closet, but
coming out of the magical box.
Yeah.
Full swing. I would say, I don't know. In the last 2 years, 2.5 years, I have purposefully not ignored what I'm called to do. Most of my life, I would try to no, I'm not going to look at that. No, I'm not going to deal with that. And now I deal with it. I always have done it. I've just done it on a very small scale. And so now I'm just ready. And I've started working with another shaman recently, and he's helping me with more words because he is from America. The other one that I worked with was from Peru, and he spoke 3 languages, but it was difficult sometimes getting, obscure words that there aren't translations for.
But you've acquired, now you've got property, you're setting up these retreats and areas where obviously for people to come. I mean, that's a big giant step. You've even incorporated I'm running out of time too. Bees, which is a big deal in your whole part of that whole thing, isn't it?
Yes. Plant medicine and bees are highly medicinal. We do not alter our honey in any way. And there's layers of flavor to this. And it has been proven through research through how medicinal all these different products are. There's honey, there's bee pollen, there's propolis, there's bee venom, there's all these things. And the processed honey, the ones that are heated up and filtered the wrong way, that's not medicine. It might make you feel a little bit better, but it doesn't heal you.
It sweetens your tea.
Yeah, it sweetens your tea. And most of the stuff you buy at the grocery store is loaded up with corn syrup.
But I mean, even your boyfriend, or your boyfriend, fiance, what I didn't know what.
Yeah, we're somewhere in there.
He's what's it? He's like would you call him a bee master or something like that? Or
he's a master beekeeper. He's been doing it for 20 years, and he also, he's retired military. He was in the Army, and after he was in the Army, he taught at the local community college. And he started a tree company. So he has an immense amount of knowledge about trees and plants and bees and what pollinates and what doesn't pollinate and how you do all of these things. And he can pretty much grow anything. And so he's creating a lot of the stuff that I am going to use. And even where I am, I have identified over 100 native species on my farm. So I'm going to get a sanctuary designation, and I'm going to encourage what's already there to grow in its natural habitat so it can be as medicinal as possible. What people don't understand is that the longleaf pine ecosystem far surpassed the area and medicinal properties of the Amazon. So everybody knows how medicinal the Amazon is. But our longleaf pine ecosystem that we've destroyed 97% of it, far surpassed what they have down there. And so I'm hoping to regenerate a little bit of that and hopefully acquire a little bit more property that hasn't been destroyed yet, because the builders and the politicians and everything, they're destroying all of our farmland and all of our ecosystems. And, you know, these things, they don't have anywhere to go. I mean, the reason that 50% of our bees died last year is because of what people are doing to the farmland and their own backyard.
Yeah, there's a lot of ups and downs that are going on everywhere. But with this book, how do you sum it all up? I mean, how do we take it and go, okay, you know, you've had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of people have, but you wrote about how you overcame them. You're talking about where you are now and what you're trying to do to not only better yourself, but help people be better. But I mean, where do we leave with this? I mean, where does it all, where does it go to from here?
Well, so what I want to do is, when every person on earth goes through adversity, that's just part of life. Every religion believes in, you know, suffering and overcoming the suffering. But I don't want to take people from their suffering up to like, here, you're being normal, you're being moderate, you're getting through life and everything's adequate. I want you to serve your purpose. And I don't know what your purpose is, but I'll help you find it. And I'll help you find the other people that are kind of like your advocates. I mean, our purpose isn't to go through life alone and have some amazing feat. You're supposed to be in a community of people, and the community that I'm in now, it's like stepping back in time. It's really amazing, because all of my neighbors come over. How are you doing? What are you doing? You know, can we help? And you just don't find those things nowadays. And that's what I want to create. A family. I want to create a community where everybody cares about the next person, because what you need to heal and serve your purpose isn't what I need, but we might be able to help each other get there. And that's, like you said in your tag thing on the social media, is you're not alone. Every horrible thing you want to keep a secret, you don't have to keep a secret. As soon as you speak your secret out into the world, there's going to be people that have been, you know what, I've been there, I've done that, I can help.
It's life is busy, life is hard, and everybody's just, you know, I mean, everybody's so preoccupied nowadays. It's not like the older days of, we used to get, you know, big families on Sundays would gather. I mean, there was a matriarch, you know, and everybody went to, those days are kind of gone. Everybody's off on their own. It kind of, it does kind of suck, but you know, I
want to have Sunday gatherings once a month, and that's what I want to do. I want everybody to come out, bring a dish, share your feelings, share your family, introduce people to each other, bring a friend. And I want to create a really amazing group of people. And I've been doing that. I have them all right here in my phone. For the past year and a half, I've been collecting phone numbers of people who want to belong. And as soon as we're up and ready to go, I'll be sending out those text messages.
I'm really pushing it tonight, but it's worth it. Depression. You have experience with people with depression. I mean, how to get them, because I'm telling you, I got somebody in my life that I've done a show on him, who's on, you know, this past year, known him most of my life, didn't see him for several decades, only to realize later, after spending more time with him, he said that he goes through huge bouts of depression. I mean, the sweetest guy in the world, who doesn't want to live beyond, you know, because of the thoughts that go through his head at times. He says you can't even get out of bed. I mean, is there ways out of that?
Yes. I've actually, just a few months ago, so for about 2 years, I've been having an extremely difficult time walking. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I thought, how in the hell am I going to have a healing retreat when I can't even walk? And I've learned how to meditate. I've learned how to be quiet. I've learned how to use plant medicine and go on ceremonial journeys. And I knew I had to heal myself. And epigenetics is real. And I think the term people are using now is generational trauma. And I don't like to use terms like that, but these things are real. And what I did when I meditated for about 4 or 5 hours, and I did use medicinal mushrooms, but I went back and I found my father when he was 4 years old, and he had been in the hospital with polio, and he wore braces on his legs. And I removed his braces and I let him run through the fields of wheat. I watched, and I couldn't call him my dad because he was 4. And so I called him Joey, and because his name was Joe, and I thought, well, that's still kind of weird. But anyway, I watched him run, and hot tears poured down my face. And then I went and found his mother, and I said, I'm so sorry they had to take your baby away from you, but they took him away to keep him safe so he could live. And at the end of all of that, so much emotional energy left me, and my legs have worked ever since. It was miraculous. I didn't quite believe it. I was checking on myself for days. I was asking my boyfriend, Ken, for days, like, is this for real? But it has been 3 months now, and I am healed. And there are many accounts like this of people who have gone through plant journeys, whatever type of plant medicine they choose. And I do know how to do this, and I have done it to other people, and I've watched it done to other people.
Because, well, he even said it on the show. He has done shrooms and things like that, and laid in bed and put something dark over his face and just meditate. But I just feel like he still goes up and down. It's an uncontrollable switch. Unfortunately, when it kicks in, it's like good luck, and who knows how long and to what extent. And so I'm just, looking for ways to help him.
Yeah, well, you can tap into it. So like I said, I worked with a shaman for 7 years, and it wasn't all like fun and glorious and wonderful. I mean, we sat in dark rooms with a single candle. I learned how to do ceremony. I emulate a lot of those things. I believe in them. I've looked up the science behind them. So whether you're using ayahuasca or San Pedro or psilocybin or any of the other plants that help people, it takes time and it takes work. So, I mean, there was times when I was frustrated and I was angry and I was like, this isn't working, and why aren't you doing this? But it wasn't about Teo, my shaman. It was about me. And even though he did what he was supposed to do, my body wasn't ready to let go. I hadn't learned my lessons, because life on earth is just a series of lessons. And until you've grasped your lesson and you're ready to move on and teach somebody else, your body still keeps it. So the only thing you can give people, and there's 2 kinds of hope. There's a hope like, oh, I wish I won the lottery. I wish I, whatever, get a new car. That's a bad kind of hope. That's hope on, but real hope, like hope when you're in that deep, dark spot of desperation, you have these little lifelines of hope that say, come on, let me show you the way. Let me show you how the path to healing. But I can only take you down the path. You have to open the door.
And some people can't afford to go and do some of these things too. Money's tight for a lot of people. And I mean, this individual was a functioning, like, real job person, and it even interfered with his work where he's no longer working. I mean, that's the sad part of the whole deal. Kent put this up earlier about mushrooms. We were talking about it, which I've known. Says shrooms have been proven to help veterans with PTSD, is even saving vets every day. Microdoses where they start. It's new proven research. I've heard about that kind of stuff, and that's why I kind of brought it up.
Yeah, Paul Stamets is a forerunner in that. He has absolutely amazing research, and he has made it legal in many states to help veterans. And that is one of my goals, to help veterans overcome PTSD, because 22 of them commit suicide every single day. And Ken, my boyfriend, he was in the Army. Fortunately, he doesn't suffer from it, but he knows a lot of people who did.
I'm sure. Sure. All right. Look, we are sadly running. I mean, way over. Not sadly. I don't care about that. But I'm running out of. I'm running out of time.
Right.
Let's tell everybody. I mean, we just told like your story out of context of the book, and I figured that's okay, because if you really want to read the book, you'll read the book and get it the way you meant to have it said. I just have to do it in a non-journalistic kind of interview way on a human, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't do anything by the book.
Don't worry, neither do I.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's funny. I had a conversation with somebody else say we both agreed that we both weren't normal, and then it comes you.
I'm not.
And then,
I wanted to say though that one of my main goals is to make this accessible and affordable to everybody. I know there's people who charge $5,000 to come down, to whatever for a day. I don't want to do that. I want to help as many people as I can. I'm older. I'll be retired in a few years. My retreat is pretty much paid for at this time, and it's pretty much kind of the old-fashioned bartering way. You need help. I want to help you. Let's figure this out.
You get around too.
Yeah, you want to give time. You want to give money. You want to give supplies. You want to give love. My goal is to help as many people as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, there's the typical. I mean, if somebody's doing some good, somebody's going to know, and people will talk. People will talk. Word gets around. Guys talk. You hear things. I mean, you really do. But here's what I'm going to do. I want to put up real quick. If you want to get more information on Amy and her book and her retreat, I strongly suggest you go to her website right there, www.whiteheron.us, and check out her website. All the information's there. Plus, if you want to read her book, which I suggest you do, if you're interested the book is available through there too, correct?
Yes, my book is available on my website, and the contact information is on my website. You send me an email, put your phone number in there. I am happy to talk to you. I'm happy to talk to anybody and help. And the main goal is to put as much love, it sounds kind of corny, put as much love out into the universe as possible. But the more love you put out, the more love you're going to get back. And we can help to decrease the dichotomy you were speaking about at the beginning, because we don't have to be all the way over here and all the way over here. Life can exist in here, and we can all get along.
Yeah, no doubt. I used to say, just like you said, put it out into the universe. And it's corny. I used to think it was corny. And I think much less of it being corny nowadays. Again, as you grow older, hopefully you grow wiser or more in tune with things. And I'm not here nor there, but I'm a lot closer to understanding like the things that I never thought I'd understand or never cared about. So, I mean, it does happen. But everybody has their own timing and own journey, unfortunately.
It does. And please have your friend call me.
I'll talk to him because I need to check on him, because it all started with, it's just really weird. I didn't have a clue about his situation, and I never saw it. I never saw that. And
because it's a secret.
Yeah. And he happened to call me, and I didn't know it, but I got him through one of those episodes because I'm goofy, and we were just talking old times and all the crap, and it just took his mind off of that stuff, and I had no idea what I was just talking to him because he's my friend.
You are his lifeline of hope, and that's an amazing thing to be.
The problem is that since knowing this, I've told him, I don't care what time of day it is, at nighttime, middle of the night, if you're going through these episodes, you can call me, and it makes total sense. He says, when you're going through it, that phone feels like it's 1,000,000 pounds.
It does. It does.
You won't pick up the phone, and therefore bad things start to happen if you survive that night, or that day.
We're not
And
meant to live in isolation. We're meant to live together.
well,
And
that's
be
the sad
happy.
part. It's very sad. And I get it. I'm going, he may need the help, want the help, but won't reach out for the help because his brain will tell him not to. For some reason, don't. You're bothering somebody or whatever the reason may be. And that's the sad part, because I can't count on him to count on me when he's going through those things. And and I just pray that this will never happen. We'll never have an incident or whatever. But he scares me, because it's I just hate seeing loving people that mean no harm to anybody who are just suffering with these I don't know how, these illnesses. I guess it's an illness of some sort, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that affect the chemical functioning of our brain. I mean, it's not like one thing. Like, you can't do this one thing and get better. You have to do a multitude of things and take care of your whole self. And people have to stop believing that your mind, body, and soul are three different things. They're one beautiful thing. And when one suffers, the other ones suffer too.
No doubt. All right, look, last time, and before I let you go, if you could leave anybody with anything that you feel is like one of the most inspirational thoughts in your head, one of the most things that has affected you in the positive manner, what do you think that would be, if anything?
Well, it's actually the topic of my next book. And the best way to heal yourself is to fall in love and stay in love with the worst parts of yourself, because when you love them, they turn into your life lessons and your assets, because you wouldn't be you without them.
Okay, it's like, I'm an asshole, but I mean, I don't, I mean, it's like, that's the thing that's hard for people to do.
Well, so if you take the word asshole and you break it into different parts, like, you get your way, you go where you want to go in the world, you get shit done. And if you get shit done, a lot of people will call you an asshole, but that doesn't mean you're an asshole across the board. It means that you have these standards, you have these goals, you have these aspirations. And when you want to get them done, and people get in your way and they fuck up and they're pieces of shit and like, oh, maybe I'll get to you tomorrow, then they're going to call you an asshole. But you're not. If your show is about telling the truth, doing the right thing, moving forward, bringing people together. And if you have to say a few abrupt things to get there, that's on them. That's not on you. And as you age, you can tell your younger self, like, okay, let's not be that abrupt anymore. Let's not use those words anymore. Let's find like a different way to say it, so that when if you go to the pearly gates or the ether or wherever you're going to go, when you die, you can go like, you know what? Maybe when I was younger, I might have been a little bit of an asshole, but when I was older, I was just a really cool, wise old man.
I wasn't even. That's kind of weird that you said it. I go. There's plenty of people that think that I wasn't even arguing myself. I guess it was more like you get somebody that's like a non-person who thinks only of those, and then they're trying to figure out, trying to revert back to loving the things that were probably the worst part of them. Do that.
I have some bad parts of me, and I had to learn to love them. And when I started to love them is when everything started to open up and happen the right way. And I thought, oh, this is kind of crazy, but it's not like a one-time deal. You keep working on it and working on it and working on it. And then when you love the bad parts of you, you can learn to love the bad parts of other people. And then it evolves into, oh, that's not really so bad. That was useful to me. And then when you find out it was useful to you, then you can mutate it into the next step.
I got you. Nobody's perfect by no means. I do know there's times when I'm a hard ass. I have to be. Things are very important to me, and you know what you want, and you try to get things done. And there's times when I slack off and times when I screwed up or this and that. And you learn to give and take, and you're hard on yourself, or you don't give a shit. But again, I don't like it. It's all good, but until it comes to a point to where you're hurting others. And it's like, okay, I put a high demand on things, but that's on me. But I don't know. I just when you were saying like, loving the heart, I think there's some people in this world, like, I don't want to use the word narcissistic, maybe, we'll never see that part of them. Does that make sense?
No, I wish I could say. I wish I could say that all people are going to get there, but if you look at, like I said, look at Earth as a classroom, and every time your soul comes down to Earth, you learn more and more lessons. And when you say, oh, this person has an old soul, it means they've been around for a long time. They've learned a lot of things. And if people are kind of at the beginning of their journey, they might not have learned as much as the next person. And some of those people with the really big egos and I guess I'll just leave it at big egos, they're really difficult to deal with. But when they have to answer to the next life, it's because they had to learn lessons. And like, so say somebody is impoverished, you'd never wish for somebody to be impoverished, but maybe they had to learn the value of money, or maybe they had to learn the value of generosity and all of those things, so that the next time they come around, they won't be impoverished. They might be wealthy, and they might be able to help impoverished people because they understand the deprivation. So everything that we're here learning will ultimately help us.
I didn't want to pick apart your final word, but I also at the same time wanted to make sure it's understandable to even me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So all right, look, thank you for giving me the time to come on the show. I can only hope that everything we've talked about tonight is going to reach the ones who need to be reached. That's really important. So. Yeah, that's super important to me. That's the only reason why I do this show. Otherwise, I didn't need this kind of stuff to do. I just felt like if I'm going to do this, I want to do it for a reason, and I want it to have a purpose, even though at times, sometimes it does not feel purposeful, but it all comes together one way or another. I figure out how to round it all up. But again, anybody wanting to go out and get her book and get more information on Amy, go to her website, www.whiteheron.us, and go check her out. Contact her, send her an email, send her your thoughts, share the show. It's a gift that keeps on giving. As I said, you might not need this information, but just like my friend I feel does, I'll be sharing this with him because I love my friends. So there you go. Thank you. I don't know if you have time to stick around in the green room, and I'll talk to you in a few minutes after we're done, or I'll talk to you tomorrow. It's your choice, whatever you want. But thank you for. All right, thank you for again giving me the time. We are going on to the 2-hour mark here. All right, so I gotta get out of here.
No, I love talking to you.
There you go. Wave to everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. One last, the spiritual and coming from the ashes to what do you say, Phoenix or the Miss Amy Olmedo here. Go to her website, check her out. I'll see you soon. There you go. Hang on, man. We are going late again, but I when things are important, it's important. That's all I can tell you. So it's important. So we go along. Makes for great listening and while you're in the car, or great watching when you have the time. Good information. This kind of stuff translates over audio. I can't say it enough. When you're driving in the car, commuting back and forth to work for 45 minutes each way, or whatever, exercising, walking, put an earbud in your ear, Google Peter G Show podcast, and listen to the show on audio. It's great. And lastly, do not forget, next Wednesday, let me go here. Go to our website, www.heron.us, and there's all kinds of retreat and the book information and everything. All right. Next Wednesday, July 2nd, I want you to join me when I'm journal. Rock journalist Rosen's going to be on the show. Edward, for those of you who love music, love Halen, all the above. He's got years. He spent 26 years journey with and then while we're talking to him on all these days, it was in the early days, how everything evolved and developed. And again, who gets to spend 26 years with one of the greatest guitar players in the world, period. And he's going to be on this show with his book, Tone Chasers. We get it from this end. And don't miss it. Join me next Wednesday. Right? You're not going to want that. Mark that on your calendar. I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching tonight's show live. Don't forget, it's always on demand. We are here every Wednesday, like clockwork. We never miss a show. I intend to miss a show every once in a while. 6 p.m. Pacific, Central, 9 on the East Coast. When I'll comment. What do we got? It says, enjoyed your show. Well, thank you. Todd enjoyed the show. That's one. It all started, folks. And that's it. All right, guys. I'm going to leave you with just a reminder. Life is short and it's stressful. You don't have to be an ass, but you don't have to take a lot of crap from people, especially now. We're in this very divided world. You know, I've been a little bit harsh on these past, few shows and that, trying to make a point because it's important. But I always tell you, no matter what you in or no matter what you want to say or do, I try to tell you to just watch it. But I'm not going to dislike you for it unless you're critical. And I respect your opinion, but sometimes you just got to keep something just like you need to just sit back and let it play. I mean, let the world move a little further before you open your mouth. But I'll always love you because we're all the same, but, you know, if everybody was, well, we're all the same but different. And that's it. All right. Here we go. One more time. I'm getting, no. Oh, wait. And Todd says, let's see. Let's start again. All these silent watchers. Paige says, very interesting show. Enjoyed it. Well, thank you, Paige. Wow. I guess there's nothing else on tonight, huh? Just kidding. There we go. And it was going away. I don't know where the audio is going. Okay, and so Todd said enjoyed the show, and Todd also enjoyed you too, Amy. So Amy, yes, people are enjoying what you had to bring today, and we definitely got to get out. All right, and that's it. Don't forget. See you next week to join me with Stephen Rosen, and we talk about the book Tone Chaser and the story. Oh, I still have a page up there, don't I? Comments. Oh, you're on comments. Get it together, Peter. How's the audio going away? Don't know. Check out next week's show because he was supposed to be pro and I was chomping at the get to it, and then we had problems, and now I found him, and let's cross our fingers, nothing goes wrong, and we get that show on the books here because I think there's a little something for everybody. This week we do this, next week we do that. It's all about information and sharing. Sharing is caring. I love you guys. I really do. See you next week. As always, do love you guys, and peace out.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.